Right. Good evening and welcome to the Season 1 finale of Project Ameliorate, Racing Pal's newest and experimental open-wheel racing championship in Assetto Corsa. We have had 5 races of excitement this season, and we are looking forward to one more, and what is shaping up to be a tight title fight. That sounds really weird to say, but very close title fight between the top 3 in our current driver standings and the top 3 teams in our constructors standings. And I'm very happy to say we can use the word constructors because, as has been mentioned before in previous streams, but if you are new to the series, what is unique about this particular series is that teams are allowed to upgrade their cars between races and build cars of their own to try and gain an edge over their competitors. See if I can shift to somebody else because that's not looking too good there, but let me just let's see someone on track while we discuss. So today we are here at Goria-Thun, a fictional racing circuit in a country of who knows where, but a nice little club circuit that's looking to put some drivers on edge already. There's not really too much to say about this circuit as it has no defining characteristics, being fictional, except that it has 13 corners and the full layout looks a little bit like if you mash Sebring together with Road America, but tonight we are racing the club circuit here. So let's have a look as we come now to the final 10-12 minutes of free practice at the drivers' standings. And we can see exactly how close it is at the moment. So this is the top 24 with the drop week calculated. Remember that the final race results will be determined by the highest 5 races or 5 finishes of these drivers. With the drop week counted, M1 LDT currently sits at 148 points, followed by Jacob the Snake with 134, and right behind him is Devdo with 133. These top 3, it should be noted, as we see now Robin return to the pit lane. These top 3 are the 3 remaining in contention for the Drivers' Championship. As I understand it, M1 LDT has a extremely dominant lead. His drop week is 21 points, so he has 21 points in hand to play with. If Jaker or Devdo want to finish in P1 in the Drivers' Championship, both of them will either have to finish first or second in this race. Naturally, the fight between those two is not as close as it is between Milt at the top there. And if Milt wants to hold on to P1, well, essentially what it boils down to, if Jaker or Devdo finish P2 in this race, Milt has to finish P9. If Jaker or Devdo finish P1, then Milt has to finish P7. Which doesn't look like too hard a task for the championship leader, but considering the upgrades that all the teams will be bringing to these cars, he might just struggle with, and I know he has been feeling the nerves this week as it is. But beyond them, Dionysus New in 4th place with 128 points, and a little bit of a disappointment for Dion due to his inability at the last minute to attend an earlier race. He's currently sitting exactly 1 point behind his possibility to win this championship. He would need Milt with his drop week included in the actual final points tally would have a total of 169 points, and the total points on offer at this race is 40 for a race win, and Dion just 1 point shy of that. Is currently sitting P4, but not without concerns of his owners. Thomas Jack in P5 with 123 points, and then Darkest with 122 right on his heels. Further down the order then in P7, it's Robin Moe, 104, followed again very closely, 1 point between him and Gons with 104 points in 8th. Then Gons' teammate for the Indian bus drivers team, Crime, with 86 points in 9th, tying with Sylvain Hubble for the HCR team in 10th. Following them then is Eduardo Pigeon and Benjamin Walrack on 84 each. Deep Cuts in 13th with 82. Trainboy, then Skrodsky and the Good Doctor in the 70s with Daniel Scott, the lone 60s number there in P17. Aaron Fiedlak then takes 18th, Suicidal Cookie 19th. Nick Chin down in 20th, only 1 point behind Suicidal Cookie with 41. And in 21st, it's Sench, the small PP teammate of Thomas Jack, followed by Senna Stoffmeal and Trev Hummer. And Jort takes 24th, despite having only actually entered one race this season back in round 2 at Alton Park. No, round 3 at Alton Park, I believe it was. That little R next to his name does not denote that he is a rookie like it would in the IndyCar races, I think, happening right now. But it indicates he is a reserve driver, having taken that one race for the absence of Darkius at Cadwell Park in round 3 for Team Spectre. And beyond them, if I can get a spreadsheet up, which decided to go to the wrong page for me. Beyond those, we have had a total of 30 drivers in this championship thus far with classified positions or who are formerly in this. And beyond Jort, Noah Tuamela drove one race for Veloster Racing with 14 points in 25th, followed by the HCR reserve driver of Lucia in 26th, Husky, the reserve driver for Full Steam Racing, in 27th, Charlie, who was reserved for QP, in 28th, and Kai Sforza, who I believe, we have to check, may be returning this race, in 29th for Small PP as a reserve driver, the only driver to have not scored points this season thus far, having retired from one race and not been able to make the next, and being a mid-season entry, is Henson for Veloster Racing, who, again, should, I believe, be here this race, but we will have to see. Let's have a quick look then at the team standing. So, Team Spectre lead the way with 308 points, followed by Ciliums with 286 and PCT Racing with 258. All three of them have an opportunity to take home the championship at this race, although it's less likely than perhaps it would seem in the Drivers' Championship, at least for PCT Racing. The most number of points a single team can score in this race, in any race in this series, is 77, with 40 for a race winner and 37 for P2. That puts Indian Bus Drivers with their 209 points out of contention, only 99 points shy of Team Spectre, down in P4. Spinardi then P5 with 192 points, and they will be fighting with Indian Bus Drivers again this race, as will Helios Community Racing Team in P6 with 189 points, followed by Poland's Finest and Small PP, only 1 point separating those two teams in their fight for P7, and perhaps higher if they can achieve it. QP then take up P9 with 133 points, followed by the Leftovers with 122. Some form of numerical alliteration there. 11th goes to the Full Steam Racing Team with 97 points, and then Velocity Racing, which is Velocity or Veloster. They've wrote it differently in different places, so I think it's Velocita, with their 14 points, as said, achieved by Noah Tuamela back in Oran Park, but their team has not been able to compete as fully as they may have liked since their late entry into this series. And of course, for this race in particular, it's going to be very important, these constructors' standings. Now, the reason for that is at the end of this series, as has been mentioned in previous streams, at the end of every race, drivers are given team research tokens based upon their finishing position in the race. That being that the further down the order you finish, the greater number of tokens you receive to upgrade your cars for the next race. To try and balance out, obviously, to try and balance out the grid and try and help those who fall behind climb back up a little bit easier. And hopefully to balance everything out. We see a Cilium's car there spun on the start-finish straight. But this is going to be even more important today, as not only will drivers be rewarded as we prepare to go to Season 2 of this two-season beta series, which will be coming at some point, I believe in June. Season 2 will begin. But more importantly, they will not only receive inverse tokens for their finishing position in this race, teams will also be awarded a large sum of tokens at the end of this race based upon their finishing position in the championship as a whole. And that will be normal points-based giving, that being that the person who gets the most points, that currently is Team Spectre, will receive the largest give out of research tokens go to take forward into Season 2. Season 2, which will, like I say, start some point in June, I believe, with a pre-season race. Then be followed by six rounds of racing, which shall again be streamed here on this channel as part of Racing Pals YouTube channel. So let's stop talking about how people are doing in the championship proper. Let's start talking about how they're doing in this current session as I change to the broadcast tower so we don't have, so you can see what's going on at the moment as we actually ride on board with Daniel Scott. At the moment it is a Spinardi P1-2 for this practice session. That is Robin Moe leading the championship, leading the practice session with a 101.043, followed closely by Daniel Scott, his teammate, who we can see right here. Well, maybe not as closely as the car behind is, but followed relatively closely compared to everyone else by Daniel Scott with a 101.522, who is followed even very, very closely by Jaker the Snack, who has, as we can see here, done a 101.545, and again, that is incredibly important, as we will see hopefully later on in this race. Jaker and P3 very, very close to that P2 position that he needs to win this championship. And we can see then M1LDT has only managed to do a 104.155. He's down in P13, and as I said, if Jaker finishes P2 in this race, then M1LDT only needs to finish 9th in order to maintain his championship lead, and this practice session is not boding as well as he might like. We see behind Jaker the Peace T car, who has been performing incredibly well across this season. It has to be said, Jaker has performed consistently. He's not won a race, I believe, which makes some of the calculations easier when it comes to who should win in cases of a tie. If you want to know, I believe it's Milt first, as he's won 2 races, Devdo second because he's won 1, and Jaker would be the lowest on that particular order as he has not won a race, but has finished consistently within the top 10, I believe, if not within the top 5. Behind him, though, as the practice session draws just about to a close, is Crime and Gons, the Indian bus drivers team, taking home 4th and 5th position from this practice session, followed then by the QP car of Suicidal Cookie in P6. Deep Cuts, then the teammate to Jacob the Snack that we can see on screen now, is down in 7th place with a 102.436, followed by the QP teammate of Suicidal Cookie, Aaron Fiedlak. Then Sylvain Hubble and Benjamin Walrack, the Helios Community Racing cars, take P9 and P10, followed by then the rest of the grid that have set a lap in this practice session. The Good Doctor, Dionysus New, Milt, Devdo, Jacka Rowan, who is filling in for Darky as this race, Kai Sforza, who, as I said, I believe is filling in for, I'm not sure if I think he's filling in for Thomas Jack. And then Charlie, who was the QP reserve driver a few races ago, now the reserve driver for Velocita Racing. And he comes to take the final position in this practice session, P17, with a 109.025, which may speak to, I believe he was a relatively late replacement, so perhaps not having had as much practice. And this track, as I understand it from a number of drivers' discussions through the week, rather tricky for some of them. I have had some trouble getting on with it, even with or without upgrades. As we now tick over to our mid-session waiting period of about 1.5 minutes, which will lead into the 10-minute qualifying session that these cars will have to put in their best laps for the last time in this season of Project A. And whilst they do that, I'm going to see who else is actually logged and registered for this race. Okay, so it looks like everyone, except for one driver, because we have 19 drivers on the grid this season, this race. I keep saying season and race, I keep talking about championships and everything, it's getting me confused. I believe the reason for that is there are a number of drivers who a little bit later than perhaps they would have liked found themselves not able to race this weekend. I know that the Full Steam Racing team are not here this weekend. That is the team made up of Trev Hummer and Trainboy 2005, who could not make it at the last minute, sadly. Did perhaps try to find a replacement, but as I have said, there are a few other teams that also have tried to find replacements, and at some point it becomes a little bit of a scrap for who gets who. As we said, Jacka Rowan, Kai Sforza and Charlie, all replacements for this race for 3 different teams. Now we begin this qualifying session as an Indy bus driver car appears to just drive into the barrier out of the pit lane. That was Gons as the... I was looking on the server manager on the live timings page and it gives me a crash environment for Gons, so he clearly underestimated the power his car had out of the pit lane. And whilst drivers come out on their outlap, let's have a look quickly at the upgrades some teams have. As you can see, Spinardi, a new livery. This is a Spinardi, by the way, if you've been following this series. This is a Spinardi. They've updated the liveries a bit cleaner as they have new wings for this race. And they're the only team, I believe, who have gone for the medium downforce wing set, which, if I take my F6 cam, you can see exactly what the difference between these wing sets are, even though you can't see the whole thing. This is the medium, this is the light, and this is the very big blockage view that is provided by the Venetian blinds that is the high downforce concept. But let's have a look as Robin Moe rounds the final corner, that turn 13 to start his lap. There is actually a track map for this somewhere, but it's obviously a fictional track, so it's very difficult to say. So let's go through this. Comes round the first corner, which is called Goria. And now it comes to the section called Clubhouse, which connects the club circuit to the main circuit. I keep an eye on his map, and he comes now up to this corner, which I believe is called Herman, and the previous corner was called Bridge. There's a problem with driving fictional tracks, is I have no idea what it actually is, but I know this area, this is called the S's, and I could have guessed that without even needing to look at the map. And now, very shortly, down to the short straight that comes up to the chicken chicane. Someone clearly had fun when naming these. The chicken, he has not cut the chicken, as Fernando Alonso once famously said, and he comes up to Pond Corner to finish his lap. And that was a 1:00.981 from the Spinardi driver, putting him on provisional pole. As cars continue to put in their early laps, we can see Daniel Scott also immediately on his practice pace with a 1:01.5 from him, putting him into P2. It is a Spinardi 1-2 in this qualifying session already. But QP, Suicidal Cookie, now with a 1:02.6 has taken 3rd place, but we know from practice there are more times to be gained from many of these cars, and there's one of them. Crime in the Indian Bus Drivers car for 1:01.999. Have a look then who should be doing better. So Jaker has taken P3 with a 1:01.842, but I think he's about to get in the way of his teammate Deep Cuts, who's currently sitting in P5 with 1:02.204 as Deep gets loose out of Herman and has had to back off a little bit. He'd do himself a favour if he backed off entirely, let his teammate get a good distance ahead before putting in laps of his own. Look down the order. Let's have a look at our championship leader struggling to get out of the 1:04s, both in practice and seemingly in this session. M1 LDT just does not have the pace, and it sounds like it as well on board. You see M1LDT then come up to the chicken chicane. He's got very... I don't know if he's taking it easy or if he is just struggling with this car. He has not got the right upgrades on it, but this is putting his championship hopes at risk. As you can see then on the timing tower, Crime has gone P3 for Indian bus drivers, a 101.763, cutting off Jaker's access to that P2 spot for the moment. And that's going to be the fight that we're going to have to watch, that battle with Jaker trying to get. Because at the moment, it is not looking like M1LDT is going to be able to gain his needed P9 position if Jaker finishes P2. See Devdo, also the other driver in this contention, just returned to the pits and seemingly has come out again. A 129.036 is his best lap thus far, which is definitely not a clean lap. But if he doesn't pick up the pace, he also is completely out of a shot for this championship fight. And let's have a look at the person who is currently where Jacob would very much like to be. Daniel Scott has not improved on that 101.5. And no one else has really gotten close to the time that Robin Moe has set at the moment of a 100.893. But for now, Daniel's doing everything he has to in terms of team's championship points, which is what's going to matter the most to these drivers of this Spinardi car right now in this race. They are not going to be looking at the drivers very much. They are not too much in contention with anyone in particular. These finishing positions will certainly help them beat anyone they are immediately racing anyway. So they'll just be looking to ensure a nice clean 1-2 if they can, and maximise their points difference over the Indian bus drivers who are currently fighting for P4 in the championship, which, as I said earlier, P4 means more tokens as the bonus given to teams at the end of the series, which is at the end of this race, or the end of the stewarding period of this race at least. They will be wanting to have that bonus set of research tokens to help them out for the next season. Again, for anyone joining us at the end of this race, it is the end of the season. That means that teams, based upon how high up they finish in the standings, will receive a bonus lump of research tokens to help upgrade the car for next series based upon how good they did rather than the way we do it usually, which is based upon how bad people did. That being said, the first team will get the most tokens and the worst team will get the least. But they'll still get tokens at the end of this race as usual as well, where drivers who perform lower down the order at least, or finish lower down the order, receive more tokens to help them, as Daniel Scott spins up the tyres and slaps that return to pits button as soon as he can. Let's have a look then at somebody else. So Devdo has put in a lap, a Helios community racing car there, off on the side of the Goria-Thun side of the track. Clearly had an issue of their own. Devdo, again, one of the three drivers still able to fight for this championship in technicality, although it looks like he's struggling with that car just as much as M1LDT is. He is P13, M1LDT is P14, and that is two of the current championship leaders. Again, if you're Jaker, you're gonna be loving the fact that your very clean, very calm performances for the rest of the season, no heroics, but consistent finishing positions have clearly paid off when the upgrade deficit has started to affect these higher finishing teams of M1LDT and Devdo, the Spectre and Cilium's teams respectively. So we come 1.5 minutes left in this quali session. Anyone starting a lap now will have enough time for 2 more laps, as the checker flag will come out after they finish it. Let's see what Devdo can perhaps try and attempt as he comes now up to the William Marsh bend. This is then into Clubhouse immediately after. Oh, he gets a little bit of a tank slapper on there and ends up on the grass, and I'm going to assume that lap time's invalidated. Even if it's not, it will be certainly compromised by that moment. Let's have a look at someone else then. Let's have a look at Ron Fiedelack, someone we haven't seen too much from, as we see his teammate in the fellow QP car based upon the QP Mayonnaise brand, a permanent fixture here at Racing Pals, has been since days of old Formula Pals. Don't actually know when it actually started originally, but it was certainly present in Formula Pals in the early seasons. See, there's a lot of looseness on the rear end of a lot of these cars going around that, around the little, I believe that's the clubhouse corner. So he's just passed through Herman now into the S's. Let's have a look at what these QP cars can perhaps hope to do. As he comes now up to the chicken. And again, for anyone joining, that is actually what this corner is called. It is a chicken chicane. As you see there, Robin, Mo, Jaker, Gons, Walrack, Good Doctor, Dion, Assetto Corsa and Charlie had finished their laps already. Aaron Fiedlak finishes his final lap on the checkered flag to take a P7 at the moment, 102.540. But who is still on track? Daniel Scott was on track. I think Commentator's curse kicked in there, had a little spin and immediately hit that return to pit stop. This is a great little view here. See, then that must have been, I think, deep cuts in the PST racing car. And here comes a Cilium's car of some description. That's Devdo, who goes faster than his teammate on the line. A 103.924 for Devdo compared to his teammates 103.993. And here comes the Team Spectre car. Jack Rowan improves on his time as well. Indian Bus Drivers then next. That's Crime improves on his time. 0.019 behind Daniel Scott is Crime. But who will be happiest is Jaker the Snack, who has put his car onto P2 on the front row, and that is incredibly important, as we have said, as if he finishes in P2 and M1 LDT does not manage to finish 9th or higher, he will be the championship winner. As quali has now ended, let's have a quick run through then. Robin Moe took pole position with a 100.639. Jaker the Snack then takes P2 with 101.427, followed by Daniel Scott and Crime on the second row. The PST teammate of Deep Cuts and Suicidal Cookie of QP will take the third row, 5-6, followed by Aaron Fiedlak and Gons. Benjamin Walrack and Sylvain Hubble then take a P9, P10 for Helios Community Racing. Followed then by the Good Doctor in 11th, Devdo in 12th, Dion in 13th, M1 LDT in 14th, Jacker Rowan, the darkiest replacement for this race, in 15th place. Kai Sforza, Charlie and Sedge take the P16, 17 and 18 positions. So Spinardi will be very, very happy with their results in this qualifying session. A team which has not had the happiest of championship seasons thus far. They'll be happy to know that at least some of their efforts have finally paid off and may be very instrumental in helping them secure a P4 in the Constructors' Championship and more tokens to bring home to upgrade even further at the end of this championship season. As we now look out on the grid, the drivers will have their waiting period and then the lights will appear, all 6 of them, as AC for some reason likes to have. We'll go racing for one final time this season for Project Ameliorate. So as I've said again, Jaker the Snack will be very eager to get a good start here. He will not want to press Robin too much. He will not want to be fighting Robin, but he won't want to be harangued by Daniel Scott, who has proven himself and whose car we know can be very quick, because he needs to maintain that P2 position to defeat M1 LDT, who currently sitting in 14th, is not in the position he needs to be to continue to lead and hold on to this championship that he is currently winning. As we see the lights come on, then it's 4 lights, 5 lights, 6 lights, and they are off. The green lights are out, and Jacob takes the lead. It's neck and neck. Jacob streams into the lead. He had an amazing start there. Robin Moe, oh, he gets tangled. One of the PST cars, that must be Deep Cuts his round, and he's contacted with his teammate. This is not the start Spinardi would have ever wanted. This is a bit of bouncing in the back. One of the QP cars appears to be around with one of the, I think that's the Charlie of the Velocity Racing car even. As we can see now, Robin Moe down to 9th position. That is the start of a nightmare for Jaker. Not for Jaker, sorry, start of a nightmare for Robin Moe, whilst Jaker the Snake leading the race now. P1 with the two most pressing cars, the Spinardi cars that were looking most likely to beat him, now seemingly out of contention from the race start, as Crime and Suicide Cookie behind the QP car and the Indy Bus Drivers car fighting for P2. But further down the order, M1 LDT, P8, currently fighting with Robin Moe. He's going to want to hold that position, as if Jacob finishes P1, then he has to finish P7 or higher to continue to lead this championship and win it at the end of this race. So both Jaker and Milt have been absolutely benefited by this race start. Disaster for Spinardi is all it can be called, because that's what it is. Robin Moe, though, getting by M1 LDT with you know, very, very easily, I guess. And that's, who's that? That Daniel Scott then getting tangled up a little bit, trying to fight his own way. Sorry, actually, no, wait, I lied. That was Daniel Scott. Robin Moe is the one having the fight at the back of the grid. This is like Oran Park all over again. I apologize to Daniel. Robin Moe is struggling to get past some of these cars. Daniel Scott is up in P4. He's going to be hoping with his car's ability, a car that he knows can put in lap times half a second beyond that of which any other car on this grid can do. He can take P1 by the end of this race. It's a long way to go. We are on lap 3 already. It's a short lap, but it's a long race. And we see then Crime now ahead of Suicide Cookie comfortably. Just about a second in it, but that's enough to be comfortable for the moment as we start to filter into some sort of order from Chaos. As we see, I believe is that Automated Luxury in the chat talking about all the carnage that's gone on. It really was. It's actually amazing that very few people died amongst all that. But I think the only casualties were, I believe, Aaron Fiedelack and Charlie. Perhaps Kai's Forza as well, currently sitting in P17 at the back of the grid. M1 LDT now up to 7th, as Devdo has seemingly had another incident where he has just lost the rear end, perhaps, or just got a little bit squirrely, and has fallen back to 10th place. M1 LDT now is in the position that he needs to win this championship, but he is under threat from the hideous community racing car of Sylvain Hubble. As Sylvain Hubble gets through, the Spectre car just does not have the pace, seemingly, to maintain an advantage any time it gets it. And he has been incredibly lucky to get so many, but he is side by side now with the Hilliers car. But I think the Hilliers car might just come out ahead as they come now up to Club Corner. And down to Bridge and... this one is Herman. Bridge is... This track map is very confusing. Anyway, it's one of the corners. I'm now up to the S's. That's the easy part of the track that I can always manage. M1 LDT now down to P8. He is not going to be happy. He needs that P7. If Jacob maintains his P1, he needs that P7 to win this championship. And as I said, with Devdo's other spin that we just saw, other moment that allowed him to fall back and of course other cars to get past him, Dev is once again very much out of the contention for the championship, which he could be winning if he was in Jacob's position right now, but is not, and thus will not. Let's have a look then at Devdo now, right behind Deep Cuts. Deep Cuts got past him. Perhaps he got also squirrely again. And here is the man whose hopes will be pinned upon by M1 LDT. Don't know if that really works, but we're going to run with it. M1 LDT, we're hoping this man can gain the pace that we know the car has. It doesn't have too much damage with that new wing philosophy, new livery, new race for Spinardi that has not thus far turned out as they would like. But M1 LDT is going to be hoping that Daniel Scott here can be the man to push and take that P1 position off of Jaker for the sake of his own championship hopes. Have a look behind. Deep Cuts now right on the rear of Dion, as actually Devdo is just getting past Jack and Rowan, the other Spectre car, the replacement Spectre car for our usual Spectre driver Darkius, Jack and Rowan, who has been familiar to ACC RP racing. Let's have a look very quickly ahead as Deep Cuts makes a move to the inside, I believe around turn 1 of, that's Dion Isis new. Oh, there's a bit of contact there. I think that was probably on Deep, and Deep comes off worse for wear. I believe the rear end just steps out, as we've seen other cars do here. The rear end, I think, just stepped out, and contact was made between the two cars, but Deep is fighting back and is keeping his position. But we see there again a little slide on the rear, and Dion is through. That's going to be disappointing from Deep, but I think we know from the current leader of this race that the PCT cars certainly manage it, and Deep managed to get back through around the corner that takes you onto the back straight. Now through the chicane, he is leading from Dion now by just under a second as they come to start their 7th lap of this race. We look then down at M1 LDT. There's a fight brewing with Robin Moe and Gons. Robin is right behind Gons, who is in turn right behind his teammate Daniel Scott. Now this is where we come to see once again wing philosophies coming into play. The light aero wing of the Indian bus driver's car versus the medium aero wing of the Spinardi car, as Robin sends it up the inside before the backstretch corner, which is what I'm now going to demark on. He gives the place back before the chicane. It looked like he gave it back. I don't know if he got loose, but it looked very, very deliberate. Obviously not wanting to do too much damage to his own car, not wanting to do too much harm, but he will want to get ahead of Gons, and he will want to hopefully get ahead of his teammate, because these two cars here, the pink car of the Indian bus drivers team and the pink and yellowish car of the Spinardi team, are fighting now for P4 in the Constructors' Championship, and with Crime up in 2nd place, the Spinardi boys are going to have to get a move on to maintain and take that position, and the extra research tokens that will come from it at the end of this race. So Gons now trying to fight back, but let's have a look down the order. Benjamin Walrack now on Dion's rear. I don't know whether Dion is an ace or there, whether Benjamin just managed to catch up to him. Again, sliding as they come up to the S's. And up ahead, Jaker now leads by 1.5 seconds from Crime. Crime looking to threatening, as that is Dion. I think had a moment coming out of the backstretch corner. And that is Benjamin Walrack well through and away by 2.5 seconds. But Walrack will now looking to get out the rear of Milt. Now M1 LDT is now down into 9th position. That is how high he needs to be if Jaker finishes in this race P2. But at the moment Jaker is leading this race, and the biggest threat, Crime, does not appear to be gaining quick enough to make anything happen there. Meanwhile, Benjamin Walrack, who just got past Dion after Dion's there's catching to M1 LDT, I think by a couple of tenths a lap. He's dropped back a little bit around these corners just to spite me, I think, but we'll see where they are at the end of this lap, as the battles seem to be coming to a slight close, as actually they're not, because Robin Moe gets past his teammate Daniel Scott, and gets past the back marker. I think that's the Velociter racing car of Charlie. I don't know whether that was in coordination, as I understand it, I believe Robin Moe is higher in the Drivers' Championship, and thus Daniel Scott and Robin Moe may have come to a team's agreement to let Robin through if needed to maximise the points. But equally, I mean, for the constructors as well, looking at the qualifying, looking at the practice, they have to acknowledge that Robin is the faster driver, and that's no slight on Daniel. There are faster drivers in the world, and the sensible team play is let Robin through to try and fight against Suicide Cookie and Crime, and potentially even Jaker ahead over the next 28 laps of this race to try and take home that constructor's 4th place. And they will be chatting away to each other as they're racing these cars around this track in their team chat as Daniel gets a little bit deep into the first part of the chicane. Which again, just to remind everyone, it is the chicane. I'm not just doing an impression. So you can see then Robin Moe now up to P4. Again, I don't know whether that was coordinated. If it was a sensible decision, I think, from both drivers. Even though the Velocity racing car were almost causing some issues, going slow on the start-finish. We can see the Velocity racing car now down into P17, but I want to go and have a look at Benjamin Warrack, who's on the back of Milt, as Crime up ahead has now put himself in a position of less than a second to the leader, Jacob the Snake. Oh, but Ben gets loose, which is not going to help Jacob right now. I was hoping that if Ben would be fighting with Milt, he could take the 10th place just as Crime perhaps takes the first place, and Jacob would then still be net winning this championship. But for the moment, Jacob in P1 is winning this championship, as Milt is in P9 and not P7. But Crime is getting very close behind. The wing versus no wing, as we have seen many races this series coming into effect. Especially around the track like this, where the little extra downforce perhaps could be a benefit to a lot of these cars, as it looks like the Good Doctor has just got passed by Aaron Fiedelack. That is again low downforce wing versus high downforce wing, but oh, a little bit of contact there, I think, a little bit of bumping, trying to follow way too close to each other. And yet up the order, Benjamin Warrack now back on the back of Milt. Let's see what's going to happen here. Again, this is a deciding battle for this championship fight, as we are now on lap 12 of 38. He makes a move up the inside of the turn after Herman, but does not make it stick. And will have to come around again to try and once again take this P9, but he has all the time in the world. Once he is past M1LDT, there are 9 seconds to deep cuts ahead, and he has to understand that that is possibly doable, but he might just be looking as P9 as a race outcome already. The longer he sits behind Milt, the further that gap ahead is going to grow, and it's growing a little bit bigger as they both got a bit messy through the chicane. And again, like I said, this is going to determine, or be maybe very instrumental in determining the outcome of the championship, as if Warrack finishes P9 and Milt P10, M1LDT has no way to defend against whatever Jacob might do if he finishes P1 or 2 in the championship fight. 0.4 of a second. They're not as close as they were out of the what is traditionally in the full track, at least a turn 12. It's obviously not turn 12 in this club circuit. That's the number I have on my track map because that's the one that gives me the names. Again, as I said, this is a fictional circuit. Who actually, I'm going to give a little shout out then. Why not? It's a fictional circuit you can download from Race Department. It's made by a user by the name of 00. And thus far, it's providing a nice little season finale. The full track is 4.7 kilometers long and is given as FIA Grade 2. Obviously, the FIA haven't graded this track to be, you know, anything, but oh, as we see Benjamin Warrack a little bit wide there and onto the grass. Now again, going to have to once again try and fight against Milt. Let's have a look ahead then. The fight between Deep Cuts and Sylvain Hubble as they come onto the back stretch. Deep looks to be ready to take 7th place. And he comes out of the chicken and out of Pond Corner P7 ahead of the Helios Community Racing Car. But let's have a look ahead again. Robin Moe now. As I said earlier, Daniel Scott perhaps letting Robin loose ahead, knowing he has superior pace, now already on the rear. 5.5 seconds in front of his teammate and already right on the rear of the QB car of Suicidal Cookie. And Cookie is on the inside out of the S's onto the backstretch corner. But Daniel Robin, sorry, also has to fight against Cookie and this back marker Cilliam's car. He gets a bit loose. I think comes off the throttle, which is something we've seen him do before there. Oh, a little bit of contact into the chicken. And he gets past the back marker and he's going to get up the inside of the QP car. And we'll have to have a drag race to see who's going to come out at the end of this straight. There's a bit more power perhaps in the QP car. But he is on the outside and it's Robin Moe who takes it through turn 1. Oh, I see. I think this is Bridge Corner then. Okay. I think the track cuts off differently to how I thought it did on my map. So this is Herman and then the no-name regular turn 12 here. But that is Robin Moe ahead of Suicidal Cookie for P3, taking the final podium place. And 4.3 seconds now to the car ahead, which is crime for the Indian bus drivers who, Robin and Daniel Scott, are fighting for P4 in the Constructors' Championship. Let's have a look again. Benjamin Warrack, once again, I feel like I shouldn't look at him. I feel like he's getting commentated cursed. Let's have a look at him. Let's have a look at Benjamin Warrack, once again, as we've seen many, many times before, on the rear end of M1 LDT. It's Helios Community Racing versus Team Spectre. Once again, trying to throw a wrench into any possibilities M1 LDT might have of defending his championship if Jaker is overtaken before the end of this race. Oh, a lock up there from what looked to be the leftovers car of the Good Doctor. And that's allowed Aaron Fiedelack to be right on the rear of the high-winged Anglo-American designed car, as I have just seen a 1.5 gap appear between Benjamin Warrack, now down to 1.3, and the M1LT, which suggests to me that the commentator's curse is not in effect, as something must have happened when I looked away. But for now, this is the closest battle now on this track. Again, you can see the massive rear wing, the multiple decked rear wing of the leftovers car against the very tiny spindly one of the QP car. Let's ride on board with the QP car, why don't we, and have a look. If you notice some graphical artifacts on the dash, which you probably wouldn't have if I didn't notice them, but that's just an issue we've had with some of the wing application. But it looks like before the chicken, that's it. QP is ahead of leftovers. Aaron Fiedelack is ahead of the Good Doctor, his fellow Aaron, in contention for P11. And now we can see again, it's becoming a bit like deja vu. We can see Benjamin Warrack once again trying to make a move on the Team Spectre car of M1 LDT, trying to ruin his day. James Steer in the comments is saying that the wing is cursed. I hope you mean the Good Doctor's one, because it is. It's like Venetian blinds if you look out the back of it. And that is Benjamin Warrack finally, at long last, through and ahead of M1 LDT, very much souring his day. His M1 LDT's day, certainly improving his own, but can he maintain it? We have seen him in this position at least once before, where he has done something a little bit like what he almost did there to set him back again and put Milt back into 9th position, but we shall have to see. Actually, for Mr. Steer's indulgence, I will just this is what it looks like out the back. Venetian blinds. It's something to behold. But out the back of the HCR car of Benjamin Warrack, it's M1 LDT, the current championship leader, or who was the championship leader, as we are now over halfway through this race. It is now lap 20 or 38 for our leaders. The cars we're currently watching on lap 19, exactly halfway through this race. And it looks to me that Benjamin Warrack has managed to not only get ahead, but to stay ahead in the meantime, in the short term at least, of the Team Spectre car of M1LDT, who would be very much hoping that he wasn't. And now under threat, M1ODT from Aaron Fiedelack. The QP car has done away with the good Dr. Aaron Rains and his leftovers car, and is now coming for the championship leader. And as Milt looks to get loose there, he gets ahead quite comfortably before Goria. That's M1LDT now down to 11th place. Let's have a look. I don't want to turn off of this in case because always something happens whenever I look away. So let's have a quick look. Up the order, it looks as though Robin Moe now 3 seconds behind Crime in P3. Crime still a consistent gap of about 3 seconds to the race leader, which Robin Moe will of course be hoping to catch up to in the last just under 20 laps of this race. Devdo now fighting with Milt's teammate Jacka Rowan for P14. Jacka Rowan again having stepped in for Darkius, our usual Team Spectre racing driver, now under threat from the Cilium's car of Devdo, the team that is currently P2 in this championship, fighting against the team who's currently P1 in this championship, but not for the places you might expect for the teams in those positions. Let's go back then up to Aaron Fiedelack. Oh, there's a small PB car. I don't know whether that's Benjamin Walrack, the HCR car, trying to get past a back marker small PB car. I don't know if that's that must be Kai Sforza, as it says that Sench has disconnected and retired from this race. I think that must have slowed Benjamin Walrack up a bit and allowed Aaron Fiedelack to get right behind him, and Aaron Fiedelack also got slowed up by the small PB car as well. But Jacka Rowan now, having been passed by Devdo, is going to try and fight back for that position. As we were watching the chaos caused by a back marker, they're up in P9, the back marker obviously being P16. So you see a PC car there in the background sliding through Herman. That PC car, maybe. Let's have a look. No, that PC car is Deep Cuts down in P7. But let's have a look again. Our cursed rear wing friend, the full carbon Venetian blinds, is now fighting against M1LDT. That is not something that the championship leader would want to see be said coming into this race. He's going to stick it up the inside of the no-name corner, but M1LDT is going to maintain a position into the S's. And the Anglo-American designed car gain a lead perhaps on the backstretch, but they have got that massive wing weighing them down as well as creating downforce. Remember, these wings both create weight and give downforce. Oh, he misses the chicane and comes back onto the track. He realizes he's missed it and just tried to get back onto the track. Does so, but that's allowed M1LDT to gain an advantage of around 2.5 seconds, and he is now being absolutely hounded by the race leaders, and the traffic they are now going to be confronted with from the leftovers car. The gaps now at the top are Jaker 1 second lead ahead of Crime, and only just under a second ahead of Robin Moe, then behind Crime. Jacob maybe will be helped out by getting past the leftovers car so early. It doesn't look so. It looks like the leftovers are going to let... Yep. The top three are past the Aaron Rains car of... Well, the leftovers car of Aaron Rains. All this excitement, my brain has gone frazzled. But let's have a look then. Daniel Scott also, meanwhile, down the order in P5, is now battling Suicidal Cookie for P4. Have a quick look. Until this happens, we're going to have a look at Robin Moe now. 0.5 of a second between him and Crime. It's gone down a little bit into Goria, but we'll see how it plays out as they come out of the first few corners. To switch back quickly, I'm going to have to keep an eye on that timing tower, but that's the small PB car again of Kai Sforza getting in the way of Robin Moe. He's not, from what I'm seeing of this track, obviously having never raced it before, Being a fictional track I don't think many people are too aware of, it does not look to be the best track for passing back markers thus far. As even those who do not run too much interference, which obviously they're not properly allowed to, seemingly having some trouble with traffic. This is interesting. So this is Jaker getting past trying to pass a back marker Team Spectre car of M1 LDT. M1 LDT will want as much as possible for Jaker to lose this race, but cannot, should not, interfere. And if Jaker feels there was any interference in those moments there, maybe might look at putting something in after the race. But it looks as though they all got past M102 unscathed, except for Crime, who actually has been passed by Robin Moe, who is now 0.3 seconds behind Jaker for the race lead. And Robin certainly looking to be someone who has had the pace this race to make it happen. Jaker will not want to give this up. If this loses Jaker the race win, not just the race win, but the championship win. Like I say, if Jaker finishes P3, he cannot win this championship, as I understand it. If this costs him the race win and the championship win, then he might want to have words with M1 LDT at the end of this race, because he may feel that was not the best way of acting as a back marker, not just as a back marker, but there's one who stands to gain from illegally defending against lapping cars. But Jaker may be saved by Crime if Crime can gain a little bit more pace, because Crime will want to beat Robin Moe for the P4 in the Constructors' Championship. The Indy bus driver is currently sitting P4, but by a thinner margin than other teams. And I believe Spinardi could, if they get a good enough finish here today, take that championship lead in the Constructors. But that is Robin Moe making a move on the race leader. Jaker's going to take the inside line for the back straight corner. Jaker maintains his lead into the chicane. Robin going to have to back off a little bit. He's got too much pace. There's not enough room to go side by side mid-corner. Crime is going to try and come back. Jaker's going to have to try and use the pace of the PST racing car against the Spinardi car. Robin simultaneously having to attack and defend. Attack the race leader and defend. There's perhaps a little bit of contact there. Jaker maintaining as much as possible alongside. Oh, a little bit more contact. Jaker's going to be fighting for this as much as he can. Crime now looking for the opportune moment to take P2 and to take Jaker's hopes of a championship title along with it. Jaker's going to have to hold on as best as he can to these positions, as we have 10 laps now to go. Just over 10 laps. Once he crosses the line, it'll be 10 laps to go in this race as we start lap 29. And there it is. 28 laps officially done by Robin Moe. 10 laps more to go. And that's Crime ahead of Jaker. But Jaker maintains the lead as we just got blocked by the camera angle. And there's Suicidal Cookie. That's not Suicidal Cookie, sorry, that's Aaron Fiedelack right behind them. For a second I thought that was a freeway battle for P2, but it's not. It's just a two-way and a back marker. You can see as well, Daniel Scott still fighting for P4 against the other QB car of Suicidal Cookie. Let's have a look. Jaker now, he's on the outside this time. On the backstretch corner, he's going to take a wide line. Jaker, a very, very good oval driver, as some of you may know, perhaps using some of those oval skills there to take the wide line and try and get the run onto the straight. This is absolutely extraordinary. The battle which Jaker was comfortably winning for so many laps, and the championship which Jaker was seemingly comfortably winning for so many laps, just seemingly gone away from him. as he gets loose out of Goria, but still maintains a lead now of 0.7 seconds ahead of Crime. He's going to have to try and hold on to that. Hope that Crime cannot maintain the lead for too long, or maintain that fight, sorry, for too long, as that's lost a racing car, either making room or just getting a bit deep himself and just giving it up. Now we see a gap forming between Jake and Crime. And Jake may not be happy with P1 being taken from him, but he will be certainly happy to hear that M1LDT is down in P11. And with him in P2, that should be, if all the calculations are correct, a championship win, but Crime still only 1 second behind. As we come now with 8 laps left to go in this race. Jake now 2 seconds ahead of Crime. Again, he's going to be very happy to see that gap starting to build. Now that he's in comfortable, clean air, he can just get on, get his head down, and start putting in the laps that we know he is capable of, and that we have not necessarily seen from the Indian bus drivers this race. Now here's the fight down the order again. P4, the Spinardi boys will certainly be looking for this overtake to be made, but again, back markers. The Team Spectre back markers getting in the way of QP's car and getting in the way of the fight for P4 between Suicide Cookie and Daniel Scott, as Daniel gets onto the grass, having to go a little bit wider than he would have wanted to make way for the back marker. I'm not sure if that is, it is not Jackarone, that is M1LDT again. M1LDT has not been the friend to some of these back markers today, including the current P2 sitter and former championship and race leader, actually current championship leader if you want to consider him that, Jaker, but also getting in the way now of the fight between Daniel Scott and Suicidal Cookie. I'm not sure whether it's the track or whether perhaps words are going to be had after this race about that particular back marker, and maybe some accusations of running interference. Let's start a conspiracy, shall we? Come on. We've got enough of them in Formula 1, so let's have them here. But conspiracies aside, Daniel Scott now once again within that 0.5 second range of Suicide Cookie. That range which gives him a little bit of slipstream in Assetto Corsa, as well as a glimmer of hope for a P4 finish and a Spinardi potential P4. Again, I'm not sure what the calculations will be on that. As we see now Daniel Scott and Cookie coming across the start-finish line up to Goria. Daniel goes a bit deep, but maybe he'd want to get a better run out. Once again, we see this medium downforce versus low downforce concept wings. They come now up to No Name and into the S's. It's 0.2 of a second separating P4 and P5. Cookie gets a bad exit out of the S's. He gets onto the grass and Daniel is through immediately on it. And will, I think, based on his previous pace, pull ahead of Suicide Cookie by some way. The Spinardi boys have done an amazing job, it has to be said, both of them, at climbing back up this order to make up for their terrible start for this race. But Suicide Cookie, after Daniel gets a slightly worse exit out of some of those corners, making another move down the outside of Goria. I don't know if it's going to pay off, as there is an inside corner to contend with at the end of this. A double insider here under the bridge and up to Herman. And Daniel Scott maintains his positional lead as P4 against Suicide Cookie in P5. Perhaps it's not as over as I thought it would be. But as I was saying, they have done a fantastic job, the pair of them, the two Spinardi drivers, Robin Moe and Daniel Scott, to once again climb up the ladder after a very, very poor start from both of them, to be fair, which was caused by bogging down and other cars running a little bit of interference on the race start. Obviously, Daniel Scott will not be as happy as Robin Moe, having not thus far recovered his P2 and not looking likely to, with 15 seconds to the P3 car of Crime. But will certainly be happy that his teammate will win the race, and whatever effects that may have, which I do not yet know, on the Constructors' Championship. See now, back down the grid, Devdo is fighting with Jacko Rowan. Once again, the P12 Constructors teams are fighting for P13. In fact, actually, P1 and P2 in the current Constructors' Championship are 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th together, as Devdo makes it through to P13. Which I believe something I said before, I must have missed it happening again. Being overtaken again. As he's now going to hope to, again, like Daniel Scott ahead, pull away, and I think that was, I'm not sure if that was Charlie right on the entry to turn 1 there, perhaps getting out of the way, perhaps he had a mistake of his own, I'm not quite sure, but we can see the Velociter Racing car, the number 26, currently racing at the back of the grid in terms of people actually on this track, as Sench behind has disconnected and will be counted, I believe, as a DNF, and having not done over half of the race distance will not get any points because he is giving way for a lot of these back markers and giving way very cautiously, perhaps knowing that he has not had the practice and not had the pace to do anything else. He's going to sit there for a long while. But here we have Jacko Rowan now fighting back against Devdo for P13. This is the closest fight currently on this track. But we are now on lap 37. And there's only one lap to go after this. Robin Moe has completed 36.4 laps of this race, of several hundred that have been raced, or a couple of hundred I guess, have been raced in this series. As it looks like Jacko Rowan has dropped back a little bit more from Devdo, the Cilium's car, having now bested the Team Spectre car, although no, I think the team's Constructors' Championship will remain with M1 LDT and Jacko Rowan. Oh, that is not a very good exit, and he's now going to be passed by one of the front marker Spinardi cars as well. So yeah, that was Daniel Scott coming past Jacko Rowan as he got loose through the chicken chicane. And it is now the final lap for this man here. Robin Moe started P1, down to P9, and back up again. We definitely have to ask him after the race if there were a little bit of team orders in the middle there, but if there were, it certainly paid off, as Robin Moe has maintained and regained the lead of this race that he held on the starting grid as he comes through the chicken for a final time, and then up to Pond Corner, which flows right into the start-finish straight, and that is Robin Moe, your race winner. Followed by Jaker, and soon up to come, it's Crime. And with that, provisionally, it will have to remain to be seen, Jaker should be, I'll have to do some calculations, but should be the championship winner. And all of M1 LDT's worst fears will have been realised. As M1 LDT gets passed by Dion on the final backstretch. I don't know what happened there. Did he have a moment, or is he just... I do not know what happened there, but Dion is now going to take 11th place from M1 LDT in the last few moments of this lap. You see then Charlie, the final driver, to take the flag and finish this race. That is your race finishing order on the side of the screen there. Robin Moe wins the race, followed by Jacob the Snack, Crime, Daniel Scott, Suicidal Cookie, Gons, Deep Cuts, Sylvain Hubble, Aaron Fiedelack, Benjamin Warrack, Dion, M1LDT, Devdo, Jack and Rowan, The Good Doctor, Kai Sforza, Charlie, and Sench. Although Sench again should be DNF'd and maybe not calculated. Although it says he did 21. Oh no, it says plus 21. So he will probably not receive points from this race in that case. Bear with me for 1 second. Well, I have just confirmed it. Jaker, if my calculations are correct, is your race winner. And, sorry, not your race winner, your championship winner. Should get some confetti or something. And now I'm going to invite the race podium sitters for an interview. I'm also going to invite the championship winner for an interview, who is P2, so I think we'll speak to him last, just to make it nice and final. So I've only done the calculations for the top two, but by that, Jaker should, with drop weeks included, have 174 points. And will be followed by M1LDT with 169 points, and Devdo in third with 158 points. I've not yet done the remainders, but I'll try and do those whilst some of the interviews are happening. Just waiting for some people to move into channels, and we will speak then to the race leader, Robin Moe, first. Hello, Robin.
Hello, James.
Congratulations on the race win.
Thank you.
I think that might be the most deserved race win I've ever seen you get.
I don't know if that's a compliment, or but it sounds like one. So, yeah, it was crazy. I was so mad at the start because
what actually happened? Just take us through what actually happened.
I'm looking at the replay right now actually because I wanted to check it. So I had a really poor launch. I had a perfect launch. It's just the launch was shit because the second gear wasn't good, you know. Jake, I was expecting Jake and Deep to get me, but it's just 3 into 1 doesn't go. I was on the outside. I didn't do anything wrong. I think the guys on the inside didn't do anything wrong. I was annoyed, but you know it is what it is. So.
And the climb through the field, was that challenging?
Yeah, extremely challenging. I had yellow front wing damage. My rear wing was broken. You know, everybody was making it incredibly hard because I think they were like seeing the pace I had, so you know they wanted to race. But
And
yeah, it wasn't easy.
I have to ask you this. Daniel Scott, your teammate, he was ahead of you for most of the race, and then suddenly he wasn't ahead of you. Was there team orders going on there? Because it felt like it was a bit easier for you than it maybe needed to be.
Yeah, I might have to retract my statement from last week when I told him to speed up a bit, because today he did an amazing job. He was an outstanding teammate. I was communicating with him in voice chat, and he basically decided to let me go, and that was really nice. I asked him, but it wasn't. It's not like something you'd like to do, but for the team result, he decided to do it, and that was very kind of him.
To I was saying in the commentary that I think that might have been given because you certainly had the pace. You were just under a second faster than everybody else on track in quali. You certainly knew how to get what you needed from this car, and you certainly achieved it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I definitely had a pace advantage with the car today, but the thing is, all the cars are so different on this track that it's incredibly hard to pass, because for once it's very windy, with all those slow speed corners and the aero corners and all that. But I don't know if that came across in the stream, but we have probably one of the weakest engines right now in terms of top speeds. Or maybe it's not the engine, but it's the drag of the wing.
I think there were a few moments where we noticed a little bit of a deficit.
Yeah, exactly. So once I came up to Crime and Jake, I think it was, I was sweating, because I knew this is going to be very difficult. And I don't think in clean air I could have been able to pass either of them. I was heavily relying on a mistake from both of them, and they both drove outstanding today, so it was very hard to get by. But what helped me was the traffic, because it's such a tiny track, and there's such a short lap time that you constantly run into traffic. So I had to use the lapped cars to my advantage.
We definitely saw that, and that, I don't know, you're aware who's won the championship?
I'm not. I expect it's Jaker.
It's Jaker. Jaker has won the championship, as far as I can tell, unless anything, obviously provisionally, unless any stewarding or anything else is to come into play. Jaker should have won the championship by 2 points. I believe it's 271, sorry, or 171.
Jesus. Yeah, that sounds like an interesting race to commentate on, I think.
Okay, it's 171 versus 169. Milt finished 12th, and at one point I think he got passed by Dion, and I couldn't tell whether it was just because he'd realised he'd lost, or whether he actually had a moment, but Jacob just won it. But Crime threatened, and the back markers threatened to not let him win it. With all those incidents, you obviously caught them, but Crime also massively caught them. Him and Jacob were scrapping away and almost took away that championship.
Can I jump in there? There's two things I like to point out. For once, the importance of illegal upgrades and the tech inspection. I think that result is rather provisional right now.
Yes.
We'll see how it turns out. Yeah. And the second thing, obviously, I want to congratulate Jaker, because he's driven an outstanding season, and this entire project that he designed is literally the best racing I've ever done. It's so enjoyable. It's really good. And, it's the last race of the season, so I might have to say that. It's my only chance to do it anyway. So,
well, speaking about it being the last race of the season, I don't know where you've finished. I haven't done that yet. I don't know where you've finished in the constructors.
I don't know. I think Tom didn't attend, Dark didn't attend, so I should jump both of them. Because
I was speaking more about the constructors.
Oh, the constructors, sorry.
The important bit, come on.
I was thinking of myself,
Yes.
Well,
I think
I think we might be P5. I think. But,
I think you might be P5, but with that comes a little bit of extra points, as well as obviously your finish today not going to get you as many research tokens as perhaps your other finishes have had, but you're going to get a nice little boost from the post-season points giving.
Yeah.
Any ideas of what you're going to be particularly looking for next season, with slightly longer tracks coming into play?
Well, I think you noticed the engine is quite down on power right now. Well, it's, like I said, not the engine, but the drag. So what we're going to invest in my opinion, max out the engine, because right now with the V8, we have a superior engine to multiple i4 cars. But if we can max that out, we can regain that advantage. Then maybe get some weight upgrades. I was mentioning here last time in the interview that weight was probably the way to go for this track, but it turned out aero was, and I was wrong in that regard. But we're definitely going to invest in weight upgrades for the next race, and I'd like to get some setup stuff, but I don't know if my technical director allows me to get that. We'll see.
Well, in that case, I would simply say congratulations again on your race win, and we'll have to see where you finally end up finishing in terms of championship standings.
Yeah, thanks, man. And one more thing, I'd like to, also say to Milt, he drove an outstanding season. If he didn't win it, I'm very sorry for him because, he would have deserved it. Like
Certainly,
with the
he
start of the
certainly
season that he had.
has. He had a fantastic start to this season. He certainly has had some more disappointing moments and some very, very good moments. But Jake has just been so consistent, and that has paid off massively in terms of not just getting the points, but also maintaining a car that has been competitive throughout the season.
Yeah, exactly. That's been quite amazing. Like they had a decent car at least for every race. Never the fastest, but always there. But yeah, I don't want to keep the other guys waiting for ages. So
Right. Well,
thank you for
congratulations.
commentating the entire season, and it's always been a
That's been
pleasure
fun.
rewatching the streams. And yeah,
And maybe we'll get to talk to you again next season.
I certainly hope so. Enjoy your evening, man. See you.
Right, see you. Right, that was your race winner, Robin Moe. I'm now going to get in Crime, who is P3, but that's so we can save Jacob for last. Hello, Crime.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I was
Congratulations
just
on
discussing
your.
with Jaker.
Oh, I imagine you were. Congratulations on your podium. I thought I'd bring you in first because obviously Jacob's got a double duty interview to do. How was that race for you?
It was very stressful. Start from lap 1. I didn't manage to get a good qualifying lap. I was very close to getting that P2, but lost 1/10 into the last corner, which cost me that P2. But yeah, got a surprising good start. Somehow ended up P2, even though I thought at first that I killed Robin. Later on, looking at replays, it wasn't such the case. So it was fight with Jaker since lap 1, and it was kind of unreachable. Just they had better grip in the corners. And yeah, and after that, Robin with the amazing chargeback he did. I don't know from which position, but like it was amazing chargeback from him to win the race.
Well, no, you had a moment there where obviously Jacob got caught up in back marker traffic and Robin managed to take the first place, but you had a couple of laps of exciting battling. Was there any hope there that you'd be able to take P2 and obviously, as we now know, snuff out Jacob's championship hopes?
Yeah, it's I tried my best, but I was sliding in some of the corners. I don't know what is the difference between the practice and in this server, but it's just I had less grip than I thought I would, so I don't know. Did Jaker win the championship?
As I understand it, yes, by 2 points, as we knew it would have had to be. He came P2.
I knew I should have overtaken him.
Well, if you'd overtaken him, that means M1 LDT would have won.
Well, yeah, we lapped many cars, which some of them were fighting as if it was for a position, which
to be
I
fair,
don't
for one of them, it was. There was one backmarker car who arguably was for position 4, and I did notice this whilst you were fighting with Robin and with Jaker. There was a certain M1 LDT as a backmarker, making it a little bit harder than perhaps he had to get past.
Yeah, I saw that, and to be fair, I liked it just because it gave me a chance to overtake James, but I had a big slide, and I believe also Robin got me on that last chicane. So yeah, I tried my best, but I just couldn't.
So I don't know, but I don't know if you've done this calculation yourself. Do you know any idea where do you think you finished P4 in the constructors?
I believe we have finished P4. I'm not 100% sure, and maybe there will be penalties that affected. So I believe we finished P4. But haven't checked myself.
If that is the case, then that means that you have a good number of points, research tokens at least, to go into the next season with. Any idea of what you want to be focusing on in terms of upgrades, in terms of preparation for next year, next season even, which is going to obviously have a slightly larger tracks, some more familiar circuits than perhaps we've been to this season?
Well, it really depends on the tracks, to be fair. I still don't know them, but Dakar is still some kind of undrivable, or it just doesn't have the grip. So maybe some softer tires, some custom upgrades that could make the car better. But yeah, it was. I have a different technical director by the name of Gons, who chooses the new upgrades from next season, so he can tell you more about it.
Fair enough. Well, in that case, whilst I just sort out try and do some calculations while we're doing this. Congratulations on your P3. And,
Thank you.
I will be now speaking to the championship leader. Do you have anything you wanna? Do you wanna congratulate Jake? I don't know if you already did.
I haven't actually because I was not 100% sure, but yeah, you can tell him congrats on the championship win. Obviously, the championship maker is winning the championship traditions, but yeah, it's congrats to him. It was a nice battle throughout the race.
Well, no. Well, good job and congratulations on your P3. And I sure we
Thank
will
you.
see you again next season.
Yeah, hopefully.
Let's see.
Bye.
I am now going to bring in, as M1LDT is typing in the YouTube chat and talking about the absolute pain of the 2 points. Well, it was 2 points. I mean, that's the reason we knew he had to finish P2, is we knew that if he finished P2, he would be 2 points ahead of Milt's 21 points finish that he had as his drop week. And if Milt then didn't finish higher than that drop week, he would lose the championship. So of course it was 2 points. I mean, if he'd finished P1, and it would be 4 points. That's how this system has worked. But obviously, unfortunate and very disappointing for M1LDT to finish second in the championship. But let's talk to the provisional championship winner, Jaker the Snack, and your P2 sitter, Jaker the Snack. Hello, Jaker.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are. What's the phrase? Du bist Weltmeister, I believe is the phrase. You are the Project A Season 1 champion, provisionally. Keep up in that.
Provisionally, yes. Thank you.
And you also are our P2 sitter in this race. So that means I only have to do 3 interviews, which is I'm very glad for.
You're welcome.
Let's start with the race. How was the race for you? Obviously, Spinardi not getting a great start, dropping back a bit, and you took P1 for quite a long time.
Well, we had to set up the car to really get the most out of our tires and mechanical grip. All of the teams that had wings, I think, were really at a good advantage here because it really made things a lot more stable. We've taken so much weight out of the car that it's gotten very twitchy. The rear end wants to come around. And we really struggle with that and maintaining speed. We got off to a really good start. Crime was right on my tail for pretty much the entire race. And it felt like we had the same pace as him, but he was able to get that pace every lap, and I would make a mistake every lap or two just because the car was so difficult to drive and keep in that maximum level of speed that it was just always close, and we had to fight through the traffic and use every advantage we could try to get to keep our position.
Well, no, fair enough. No, you obviously had a fight with Crime, especially in the middle of that race. You got caught up by some back markers, I believe. Did you worry about losing that P2 that you so desperately needed?
It never left my mind that I needed P2, and I thought it wouldn't be so bad when I saw Robin go off into turn 1, but suddenly he appeared as suddenly as Palpatine returned. So it went from trying to keep Robin behind to trying to make sure I kept Crime behind, and even tactfully trying to pass back markers just before difficult to overtake turns to try to keep Crime as far behind as possible.
I was wondering at some point there if you might let Robin through in the knowledge that you could probably beat Crime with your car, or if you were too worried about losing both places.
Well, he arrived so suddenly that I wasn't even aware how many laps were left in the race, so I just decided to defend as hard as I could, and I'm not surprised he got by, but if I had known that there was still so many laps left, I probably would have conceded defeat a little earlier.
Well, that's fair enough. I think I've done some more calculations actually. So you are the championship winner by 2 points. Milt
Thank you.
has written in the YouTube chat just simply pain, as I'm sure he is feeling. But also, if my calculations are correct, which I will admit they might not be, you have also taken, I believe, P2 in the Constructors' Championship by also 2
Really?
points. My understanding
That's
is
very
City and
surprising.
Sam-
I thought for sure that was out of reach. Are you certain?
I am not certain, but if I have a look... No, Devdo and Dion are the only drivers, aren't they?
I
For
believe
City?
so. I think it's been then every time.
Yeah, they have 15th and 19th this race, points-wise. 15 and 19 even, points-wise. Obviously, Peace T have had 27 and 37. I think you've done it.
Wow.
I
I
have no
really
reason-
did not think it was possible.
I have no reason not to trust Excel.
Well, I'll wait for the official results to come in, but if that's correct, I am over the moon. I cannot believe it's all come together like this.
Well, I believe, you've certainly put in the effort, put in the time. M1LDT is also continue to type in the chat. You should be happy, Milt. You are still P1 in the constructors.
Yeah, Milt, congrats on the Constructors Championship. Congrats on a hard-fought championship battle with me.
It certainly has been hard fought.
Yeah.
Your main strength, though, I would say, is that you have been absolutely consistent throughout this series. You have never won a race, mind you.
Correct.
But you have had consistent finishes, I think, in the top 10, if not, basically the top 5 for the most part. You have been consistently up there.
I'm very pleased with that. Very, very pleased. It's the only reason I was able to compete for the championship today. And I think I owe a big thank you to Deep Cuts because he was able to build the car around trying to keep us competitive and was able to find maybe not the highest mark, but a high mark every week to keep us competitive.
You've also got to thank the teamwork that you've had to do, because you have also, on top of the great driving you've shown throughout the series, you've managed to create a car that just hasn't ever dropped off, like we say. And you've managed to gain the research tokens to do so by not actually finishing as high as perhaps you might have wanted to. Is that perhaps part of the tactic?
Not necessarily. It was always to try to finish as well as possible. It was interesting to see sort of the pendulum swing because those that won were able to keep their car fast for maybe another week, but then they definitely saw that drop off. But then after that, I guess it was just consistently finishing best of the rest, perhaps, seems to keep the consistent points coming in.
No, well, you've certainly made it work. So congratulations to you on your championship win.
Thank you.
Provisional championship win. Just got to add that, you might, things can happen. There are tests to be done for this race. There are, there are stewarding inquiries to be had. But for now, you are the championship winner-elect. So go and enjoy your victory. And again, congratulations to you and to the team on that P2. And, congratulations to Milt, obviously, on his Team Spectre P1 and on his hard-fought battle, as you've said.
I also want to give a thank you to everybody that drove in the first season of Project Ameliorate. I've been working on this project for over a year now, and to have it all come together, not just rather successfully, but rather successfully due to so many excellent drivers showing up every week and having a good just sporting sense and driving skill. It's just been everything I could have hoped for and more. So
Yes,
I'm really looking forward to season 2 and hope to see everyone return.
Yeah, and thank you, obviously, for all the hard work you put in. You're actually getting a lot of praise on the Project A chat right now for all the hard work you put in over the course of this season, and obviously all the work building up to it. Clearly, it's paid off as a championship which people have been so invested in. It's not been one night where I haven't heard somebody talking about what they're going to be doing for the next race, particularly the Spinardi boys, but the Indian bus drivers and everyone else have been absolutely engaged with this championship. So fantastic work.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. All right, and thanks again for streaming all this season. I hope you'll continue for next season.
I'm
This
sure
has
I
been
will. Also, you joined.
just
I just
awesome.
realised you joined a club. You and Milt are now part of a club of people who have won their own championships.
Yep, and I can't wait to be berated by all of my cohorts about it.
I'm just waiting for Milt to start saying things because he had many years of being told of his winning of his own championships.
I think after a season of that, you get to deserve at least saying it once to the next winner. So I can't wait to hear it from him.
I'm sure he'll be more gracious than that. Well, I'm not sure, but let's pretend he will be for now. Anyway, congratulations, and I'm sure we'll see you next season for another 7 races, including pre-season, of Project A.
That's right. See you then.
Also, Milt says to get ready. I think that's directed at you. Right, see you, Jacob.
Perfect. See you.
That was your race P2 and your championship winner, provisional championship winner, Jacob the Snake, who has finished, as far as I can tell, this championship with 171 points, beating out M1 LDT's 169 points. A quick look then before we go with the Drivers' Championship. As I understand it, provisional championship standings. Behind these two top drivers are DevDo with 158 points, then Dion with 147. Following them is Robin Moe, Gons, Thomas Jack, Darkius, Crime, Sylvain Hubble in P10. Deep Cuts then takes P11, followed by Benjamin Worak, Daniel Scott, Eduardo Pigeon, The Good Doctor, Aaron Fiedelack, Trainboy, Jacob Skrodsky, Suicidal Cookie, Nick Chin, Sench, Senostofmeal, Trevor Hummer, Kai Swarser, Charlie, Jort, Noah Tuamela, Husky, and Henson. Those are your... Sorry, actually, no, there is someone missing there because I added them to the driver standing list, and that's Jack Rowan, who has 14 points, so should actually be just behind Noah Tuamela in P28, which rounds off your 31 officially signed drivers for this inaugural Project A Season 1. And then again, just to have a quick look at the Constructors' Championships as I understand them to be. Again, this will all be checked over post-race, but I like to do this to try and make sure I can get it to you as soon as the race is done. Team Spectre takes P1 with 339 points, followed by Peace T Racing with 322. Sidiums come P3 with 320 points, followed by Indian Bus Drivers, Spinardi, Helios Community Racing, QP, Small PP, Poland's Finest, The Leftovers, Full Steam Racing, and Velociter Racing take P12 with only 25 points due to being a late entry and having a few issues in attending some of the races, sadly for them. But hopefully they will be back next season and will be able to put together a fuller team than they have done thus far. But there you have it. That was the Season 1 finale of Project Ameliorate, here, hosted here by Racing Pals. And actually, Jake has just made an announcement, which I can then announce to you. Next season will start on the 25th of June, although there will be a pre-season test event on the 11th of June, which I'm not sure if that will be streamed or not. I might stream it just because we've streamed thus far, so... Anyway, the official first race, so the test event on the 11th of June will take place at Mosport Park, the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Canada. Funny that, really. Round 1 will then be on June 25th at Hungaroring, followed by Hereth on the 9th of July. Then the 23rd of July will be going to Sonoma on the Californian coast. It's actually not really on the coast. I've been to Sonoma. It's very much inland, so much so that it's absolutely sweltering, but it's a lovely track. And then following that, we're heading over to Virginia for Virginia International Raceway on the 6th of August. Then we get a first of 2 Japanese rounds to end the calendar, Autopolis on the 20th of August, followed by Suzuka on the 10th of September, at which point we will crown at Suzuka, as all good championships have been won at Suzuka, or a lot of good championships have been won at Suzuka. We will crown our Season 2 champion then on the 10th of September. But before we go then, let's have a look at what's coming up in the Racing Pals future. RP Series is back next week at Misano for our 1 hour sprint series in Assetto Corsa Competizione, GT3 and GT4 multi-class racing. And that will be round 5 of 6 of that championship. You might wonder why there's round 5 and not round 6 when we just had round 6 of Racing of Project A. That's because ACC took an Easter break, so is 2 weeks offset from us. And thus now round 5 next week, and that will be hosted here, hopefully by my fellow commentator Husky on this YouTube channel. And then on the 27th of May is the 6 hours of Spa, the first time that Racing Pals has been to Spa for an endurance race in any fashion that hasn't been absolutely pouring with rain, but this time we've turned the sprinklers off. And again, this is GT3 and GT4 multi-class racing, teams of up to 3. Join us for that. There will be live stewarding and live stream commentary. I'm not sure who by as of yet, but there should be a stream ready for it. And that'll be 6 hours of Spa on the 27th of May at 3 p.m. BST. Well, that's when practice starts at the very least. Half an hour of practice, half an hour of qualifying, and then 6 hours of racing around the Ardennes forest. But until then, I have been your commentator for this fantastic season finale, I think it has been, of Project Ameliorate. And I will see you, if I don't see you in any future commentary, I will see you at next season in June. Until then, I have been your commentator, James Andrews, and good night.